to introduce anyone who's watching on YouTube or who's watching in Twitch chat and doesn't know what's happening. Hello, my name is Crimson Casts. I'm a speedrunner and speedrun commentator in Path of Exile 2, and I offer coaching on my live streams for people who pay for it. And our friend Blanksuu, who is joining us in Twitch chat today, has paid for a coaching session. So this is just a video going over his Act 1. We have a lot of small details to point out. I'm going to be drawing on the screen. We're going to be talking about the build. We're going to be talking about skill usage. We're going to be talking about regex and filter and settings and like every single thing that you can do to save a minute. To give you some orientation, I would say that Blanksuu is like what I would call an advanced intermediate player. He has really good habits, but needs to break a few of the sort of fundamental things in order to reach a more advanced level. This run ends up being about a 3:45 to 4 hour run based on the VOD time. And I'm coaching him as though we are aiming to break 3, which means that we're going to be pointing out a lot of details that are sort of oriented to that sort of skill level. Someone who already knows a little bit about speedrunning, someone who's already practiced a few zones, but still needs to take off pretty substantial time. So just know that this is oriented at sort of an advanced intermediate skill level. And other than that, we're going to get started. So we're playing Druid, and you can see my cursor here on the screen if I make it a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. This is my cursor. Okay.
The beast still.
So the first thing that's a pretty unusual habit, by the way, among racers is that you are playing with minimap instead of overlay map, like dramatically more than a typical top runner would. This doesn't matter too much in really fixed layout zones like Riverbank that you'll be super familiar with, but I want you to encourage to be like much more active about using overlay map more. A couple of examples of this are like right now you're sprinting and you can see that like here, here, and here there are all these monsters, and obviously you want to generally go this direction, but you also need to be like looking up here to decide which layout that you're in. And as a consequence, like retiming your dodge rolls to avoid getting sprint knocked down is a little bit harder just because you're looking in back and forth between two different places. And so the chance of you getting knocked down is higher than it needs to be when you could just play overlay map and then tab it out when you get to the Miller for the boss fight.
I think this one's off to the right.
Okay, and then we take Volcano.
Somehow.
We put our talisman in. We allocate this. We're doing really well because we're doing it while we're running. Okay. So we select bear form, and we're good to go so far. So this is sort of a nitty-gritty thing, but you make this jump from here to here and then tank the slam anyways. Because you're playing a strength hybrid class, you can tank quite a lot of hits. The Miller doesn't do any hit non-crit that does more than 50 damage, so you could just tank everything if you wanted. And for the DPS uptime, you might as well. The other thing is, since you start with a two-handed melee weapon, because that's what talismans are, you actually do really good melee damage, and if you're going to use that melee damage, you can stun the Miller out of this summon animation where he summons like the ring of summons around him really regularly if you just choose to tank that first slam. So that dodge loses you like 3 seconds because you don't save any time anyways. And you may as well just like get in there. Okay, and then the other thing is that Volcano does like dramatically more damage if you channel it for longer. And since these summons are coming at you anyways, you probably want this Volcano to be doing substantially more damage, and you may as well wait for a few of the summons to get, you know, closer to where you're placing the Volcano. So you can just channel this for 2 seconds longer if you're going to choose to place the Volcano. Yeah, so we're doing really, really well. We get the killing blow on the Miller.
That's a stop.
Sleep now.
Pick up all of our items.
Draw sandals. Identify the gloves and see if they give us attack damage. But...
Okay. That's alright.
No...
Friendly. There's a bit of you could try. What would you like?
Whoa, what the fuck did I hit
He's
to do
the only
that?
thing holding this place
Okay,
together.
so we've sold everything.
She wears her sorrow like a
And
second skin.
now we have... So this is a super micro optimization thing, but I want to point it out anyways because you're a paying customer and I want you to have all of the possible feedback. When you're in town, you are dodge rolling to sprint, which is fine, except the gap from Renly to Una is long enough if you just walk to cut the skill gem that you get from Renly and socket it. And then the walk from Una to the door is long enough to skill assign it. So those dodge rolls now mean that when you go into this next zone, since you haven't cut and assigned the skill, you're now going to be spending time doing that once you're in the zone, when you could be sprinting in the zone. This is a super micro optimization, but my point is, like, if you just walk from Renly to Una and then walk from Una to the exit, you're not actually gaining that much time from the sprint because the dodge roll takes up such a large fraction of the path that the period of time where you'd be gaining speed from the sprint is like low. Whereas like once you're in the zone, the dodge roll is a much smaller fraction of the period of time where you're moving, and the sprint is longer. So it's much more effective for you to do that. Do you need to turn off pausing for that? It's optimal to turn off pausing. Yes, you don't need to though. You can always cut gems. You can always socket gems while moving. The gem cutting menu pauses by default. But what I'm saying is if you know that you're cutting a skill like Contagion, which is a 2-click cut anyways, you may as well just do that while you're in town, because you're going to be able to have, like, instead of shorter run segments, you get longer run segments. And this is a period of time where you're maintaining a high momentum, which is better. But that's like a really small detail. I want to point out some stuff. Okay, and then now we have another small thing here. I noticed that you're always manually confirming skill passive changes. If you just hold control with your pinky, assuming you're a WSD player, if you get used to holding control with your pinky, you can save like 2 seconds on every skill gem, on every skill assignment. That doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of the run, if you're assigning, we'll call it 32 skill points plus 10 from weapon swap points. So that's, 2 seconds per point, that's 80 seconds. That's a free 90 seconds-ish, minute and a half-ish of time that you can save. That's a huge deal, right? A minute and a half completely for free by just getting used to holding control is a big deal, right? And then again, this is absolutely a place where you should be playing with overlay map. Like, it's just, you're losing out on so much information because you have all these enemies around you, and you have this obstacle, which is low contrast with the environment, but on the minimap, it's super high contrast. And so just from an information triage perspective, being able to, like, not get knocked over by these wolves or these imps or these imp projectiles and be able to see a high contrast version of the obstacle is just much better from an information perspective. The other thing is, like, there's a number of map features that are low contrast in the environment but high contrast in the minimap, and you want those. I should, but I know the current clear fell like the back of my hand in SSF. That's true, but just in general, in terms of forming habits, especially for races or for league starts where you're going to be in a fresh economy, it'll matter a lot, right? Because you're going to be in a situation where you don't know this particular clear fell. Okay, and then you take... By the way, the same thing is true of skill gems as is true of passive points. You can hold control to auto assign. And then so far so good, we're across the bridge. Also, this is a pretty minor point, but I do want to make the point. All of this, where you have something on your screen, is distracting. And I know that this sounds silly, but, like, the more information on your screen that's irrelevant to what you're doing, the slower you'll be, because you're still going to be processing that information even if it's not conscious. So, like, just typing /global and then some random 5-digit number that no one else uses, or using /do not disturb when you're running, is super important, because every single time that this flashes on your screen, you're going to be like, that's just more clutter, and you just don't need that. That's the only thing. It's not like a huge deal, but from an information triage perspective, it's important. then our Beira fight is pretty normal. Again, you're channeling these volcanoes for just way too short. Just way too short. You need to be channeling them for much longer, because that initial burst damage from a DPS perspective is huge.
I didn't want that to go on Beira. I wanted that to go on Wolves. But it is what it is. Don't care about that. Do that. Maybe speed. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so, by the way, you just pick up that buckler and then throw it away. Picking it up takes, 0.2 of a second. Throwing it away takes 0.2 of a second. But again, if you just create a much stricter filter where you don't even see that item, it doesn't even have a chance to distract you, because you're only going to be picking up items. Like, if you know preemptively that there's no possible circumstance where you will ever want to see a blue buckler, it shouldn't be on your filter. Right? And so you can always, like, if you're like, oh, but Crimson, what if I end up needing 20 gold? If you end up in a situation where you need 20 gold, which is a rare circumstance, but I suppose it could happen, where you're really desperate for some specific amount of gold, you can always just hold your reveal key and pick up junk items to sell. But having it on your filter by default means that now your inventory management is much more cluttered by default, which we just don't want it to be. You're about 10 seconds slower than is typical for crossbow builds, and around 30 seconds slower than is typical for druid builds. And most of that time loss comes in the form of like small menuing changes that could save you, 8 to 10 seconds over the course of the interval that we've watched so far. And then also just not channeling your volcanoes for that long against Beira is a problem. You also cut in Tangle, which is an odd choice of skill. The reason that it's an odd choice of skill is that you already have, like, just thinking about what your skill gem priority is, you have Contagion, which is clearly aimed at mob clear. And then you want something to help Contagion spread early on. And you are forced into getting a free gem for Volcano, which is more than good enough to be the thing that you use to clear early on. And then you take the remaining one skill gem that you get, because this one's free and this is forced into your hands by Renly. And you have one additional skill gem to allocate by going to the camp, and you cut vines. These two are completely non-negotiable, but cutting that plant skill means that you don't have access to Frostbomb. And Frostbomb is a really big deal. One, Frostbomb is an AoE damage skill. It does a very small amount of damage, but it does do enough that it can help you pretty significantly. And the other thing is that Frostbomb synergizes really well with Volcano for single target. So you're going to want that elemental exposure later on anyways. I would really strongly suggest at this point in the run where you are now worried about single target because you have to fight 3 bosses back to back to back. You have to fight Beira, you have to fight Ariagne, you have to fight the Rust King. Even if you skip Ariagne, I would still take it. Frostbomb is going to be super duper important because you are channeling these long volcanoes for high burst fire damage, and you just need this way more than you need plants. So we see our entrance tile, and we need to get out into the zone. Let's see where you go.
Jesus. Alright, since we're trashing the game, we're gonna fucking...
The home to Mudge's most power.
Mad beast.
God, hell out.
Ancient relics, poison and...
We're not fighting Ariagne straight up, which is bad. With any two-handed martial weapon, especially with talismans and with two-handed maces, Ariagne is extremely quick to kill. And we're not gaining that much experience by moving through this zone, and we're about to be forced to take a lot of experience super efficiently because we're a Contagion player who's about to be heading into Red Veil. So this is just not a good execution of the fight against Ariagne. If we go back and watch, and you go, oh, how much experience did we get from kiting Ariagne in this way?
Mad beast.
Your XP bar starts here. All of this time you've made no progress on the fight, and you've gained 10% of a level. Right? So that's like 15 seconds of combat where you're making no progress on the primary objective, which is getting the support gem, and you're making extremely marginal gain from moving while doing this. You should just fight her straight up. Like, the bear-based auto attack is extremely strong at this point in the game for killing Ariagne, and you should be just punching her in the face because you have that utility available to you. The same thing is true of Volcano, by the way, especially if you also have Frost Bomb. The ability to Frost Bomb her, which slows her and applies exposure, channel along Volcano, which blows up underneath her feet, and then use powerful physical melee attacks, which will apply big stun meter to interrupt her actions, is extremely strong. Like the Druid versus Ariagne fight with the optimal skill gem setup is probably the strongest starting setup, because Volcano is a very good skill and you're given a two-handed melee weapon. There's no other class that has this combination of like melee survivability. If you're gonna fight her, like if your route requires that support gem before you get into Red Veil, you 100% need to just be punching her in the face right now.
Poison and land and beast of light.
So this is good. We're doing a bunch of really active skill usage. And it's a magic pack, and we get our currency, so we get a crossbow. We get a tense crossbow.
Jesus. Give me a break.
Okay, so we got into the zone at approximately 3:23. It's now, if you look at the VOD time, 4:58, and we just killed her for the first time, which is fine. But now we still have about 30 seconds of zone exploration to do, and race leaders are already, even people who are killing Ariagne, are already in Red Veil, like killing the first obelisk right now. So all of this movement that we did meant that the Ariagne fight lasted 40 to 50 seconds longer than it needed to. We should fix that.
One less curse upon this land.
We do Unleash.
So we have Unleash. All of this cursor movement where we are like mousing up here for no reason means that we haven't developed the habit of the build enough to like mentally pre-aim that our cursor needs to be on this menu. Right. So our cursor does this when it should do this. And you're also clearly reading Fire Attunement, which loses seconds. Right. And then we go to Entangle. And we know, because we've played Druid before, that none of these 3 support gems is something that we care about. But we are still Entangle, mouse, 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 and then here, which we don't like. This is a lack of practice. This isn't like horrific quality gameplay or anything, but this is just a lack of practice and familiarity with the build. So, right. Yeah, and then again, we click show recommended gems. Then we want Unleash, which we know is like lower in the alphabet. So if we're not just going to type it, we 100% like do not need to be moving our cursor up here. And this is just a lack of familiarity. Yeah, you've only recently settled into the build. So like I'll stop harping on that, but like all this cursor placement stuff is gonna matter over the course of the run. Where like let's say over those 2 interactions you lose 3 seconds. If you're losing interactions, if you're losing seconds that way every time, that's a big problem.
Whichever one. Down here, which this case.
Okay.
Check other way.
Hit. And then we're still not playing with overlay map nearly as much as we should.
Alright.
We should still be control confirming all of our stuff. Yep. By the way, this tile where the hooded one is, if we go back like just a couple of seconds in this zone, this tree branch can only be like this tree branch can only be the solution. So like visual recognition, you did really well in recognizing the back of the Grim Tangle, but you did kind of poorly on recognizing this, which is fine. You only lose 1 second. And again, this is just familiarity stuff, where you do more runs, you learn more stuff, you get more efficient. It's fine. And so we get in here in 540, which you should be able to do faster on a Druid, but we're doing fine. This is fine. Like, I think that a typical Druid skips Ariagne, but if you just had a more efficient Ariagne fight and changed some menuing stuff, you could be doing 5 flat. You mentioned something that's clearly a habit that you picked up from Angormus, which is, you mention, like out loud on the VOD, you say, I think I need to come back to this one because this one is small. There is disagreement among top players about this, but one thing that I want to point out is that if you summon here, you'll get like 2 monsters and then like roughly 6, right? And so you are missing out on like, 4-ish monsters worth of XP. However, you're a Contagion player. Making up 4 monsters worth of XP takes no time, right? Whereas click on checkpoint, wait for loading blink, reorient yourself mentally, click on the new thing, is a big problem. So as a consequence, I don't think that you should be like, I don't think that this matters. I think that this is a micro optimization where, like, maybe it does matter at the ultra high end, like maybe TISP would do it, but I think that you're expending significant mental effort in these small tricks when you're missing like really large things. Yeah, exactly. Focusing on the finer details, but neglecting the major pictures. So you do a lot of things where you're like doing super advanced, like zone manipulation tricks, or you're doing like checkpoint resets to avoid cutscenes and stuff, and all of this is requiring cognitive effort from you that you do not need to be expending. And what you're losing out on is like the ability to like pre-prime yourself, where you're running between 2 checkpoints, you have 5 seconds of open area of just running, and as a consequence you could be thinking, what's my next support gem, where do I click to do that, right? Or like, oh, I have a couple of seconds, I could reorganize my inventory, I could get my currencies into the positions I like them, I could get my flasks nearer to my flask slots. Oh, I have a pair of boots I can't equip yet, but I want them to be closer to my boot slot, so I move them to the right side of my inventory. Like all these efficiency things. Instead, you're focusing on like tiny amounts of experience, like 5 to 8% of a level is nothing in Act 1. It takes you 10 seconds to recover from that. But all of these other inventory management and skill gem management things that you're not focusing on, or playing more decisively or crafting while moving, that cognitive load that should be focused on these major things that will keep you progressing more quickly are instead expended on like, oh, I should do this checkpoint reset that Angormus does to get 5% more of a level in this zone, which just, it doesn't matter. So you've got a transmute, an aug, and an ID scroll, and they are as far apart in your inventory as they can possibly be. So I know that later on you move all of your currencies to be like here, for example, where you have like wisdom, trans, aug, regal, alch, exalt are like in these slots or whatever. That's good. I don't care what order you use. Some people like them all like this, which is what I do, and Gormus likes them all here. Other people like them all in the second row, and they put runes and skill gems and stuff here. Whatever works. Some people like the right side. I don't care what works. I think that left side is better than right side because most of your most of your cursor is going to live here in the middle of the screen because that's where your character is, and so you're going to be casting skills closer to that. So it's easier to manage inventory stuff that's on the left side. But it doesn't matter to me what it is. I like the setup that you come up with later. That's totally fine. But right now, you're going to have a problem where if you pick up some item from the ground and you need to... Like, let's say you find a blue wand and you want a little bit of increased spell damage from a withered wand. And you know that it has chances to roll spell damage, chaos spell damage, plus chaos spell levels, plus spell levels, plus cast rate, like all these stats that potentially are good compared to not having a wand equipped. Right now, if you picked up something and needed to ID it, your cursor movement would be this, and then this, and then this, which is much different than if you pick it up and it ends up here, and you need to ID it, transit, aug it. Right? It's just, you're needlessly giving yourself 6 times as much cursor movement. When you have these longer running sections, like for example, right now, there are literally no monsters on your screen. And so you could be doing that cursor movement now when it's completely free to do so because you're just sprinting in a straight line. So I think that big problem. Also, this is a subtle thing about Contagion, but this positioning is a bit weird from you. So you see this magic pack, which is great, and then you also have a ring of monsters being summoned over here. I'll explain as we do this. So, okay, so this guy is an archer, right? And you have Contagion successfully applied over here, including a couple of enemies that are really low and taking repeating dot from both your vines and your Contagion, right? If you just throw a volcano like approximately here, provided that it's close enough to hit this guy, this mob is already dead. Whereas this guy is in freestanding space, and there are other archers, like the resolution is low, but this, for example, could be an archer. There are a couple of archers that are behind my face, okay? So what you want to be doing is kiting the melee units on top of the ranged units. And so the fact that your initial inclination is to dodge roll up like this means that it's going to take you extra seconds to kill these guys. Because these guys remain in freestanding space and you're not putting anything on top of them. Whereas this mob, you can see that the Contagion has already jumped multiple times. You can see the wisps of Contagion on the screen right now. You can see that all of these enemies, there are multiple of them are low already, so the Contagion is going to refresh itself. Stop fighting this mob. These guys over here have 100% HP, and these guys are already dead. Right? So when you dodge roll up like this, you're literally moving as far away from the group that you actually care about. And so you're going to end up spending an extra 6 to 8 seconds fighting this mob. Right. Which we can see now because, look, this mob, this guy's dead and is going to kill the guy next to him. This guy's dead. All of these guys are dead. And now you have to come over here to the other side. And now you're finally getting Contagion to jump all the way over here, whereas this whole pack could already be dead and you could be running away. So you end up having 2 or 3 spellcasts
I get more XP
worth of
this
time
way.
there.
I'm just doing
Drag from there, great. Another of those.
Oh shit. Am I gonna have enough mana for this?
Right, and then here's another good example. you have, I have to move my face here. I don't know where to put my face. We're going to put my face up here. Okay. You have these two guys with Contagion already on them, which is dope. And then this guy in freestanding space and this guy in freestanding space. And your next skill cast is really good. It goes sort of like you're trying to cast like this to get all the guys, which you do. And that causes Contagion to jump this way. But now, think about what's going to happen. This is a ranged unit. This is a melee unit. This guy's going to walk towards you. He has Contagion on him. This guy does not have Contagion on him. As a consequence, this Contagion, which will jump to this guy and this guy, is not going to be able to jump to this guy. So, you choosing to position here instead of trying to kite this melee unit toward the people that you care about killing with the jumping Contagion is slowing you down. Ooh, you got really lucky on the jump range there. This is... You got... Like, good. Perfect. Good. We want that ready first. We then get our level 2 skill gem and a voltaic staff.
Now, to check this voltaic staff. Fuck yeah, dude.
Okay, we get gain as cold, which is dope. Now, this is a problem where using overlay map is just completely owning you. So this is off screen and we can't orient ourselves to this, but we know that we want to be looking at these major map features because you've studied Red Veil, which by the way is not necessary for a player of your skill level. But since you have that map knowledge, we may as well use it. And using minimap right now is preventing you from looking at anything that's relevant to align yourself to the geometry of the DGR. Like, you're not able to see the entrance, you're not able to see the other two obelisks, you're not able to see wall features on other sides of the map. I don't know what your particular key tells are, because I don't know if you learned from the Red Veil PDF, or from Map Epic in your mind, or from studying the example screenshots yourself. But in any case, any of the major map features that you could be using to line yourself up to a more efficient movement path through Red Veil, you're just not using. And so, like, you've spent these hours studying Red Veil to then not use the information because you have this bad habit of putting the map away.
We'll also go ahead and put Contagion level 2 here.
Okay.
We should have level 5.
And then we...
Or will be just
Okay, and then we run into that same problem as earlier. These two guys don't get contagioned. And so, that's a problem. Also, you say, I pretty well just memorized the positions of obelisks based on layouts. Yeah, but then you end up walking like this, which is a curved line, when you could walk like this, which is a straight line. Right? And like, if you knew that these are always in line with one another, like, yes, this is good, but think about it this way. You spent effort to study the DGRs, which is good, but then you've also cleared this entire circle, which is no different from wall hugging the entire map. So you spent presumably hours to study the DGRs, which we continually tell beginning and intermediate speedrunners to not do. And then you've done no better than someone who would be purely wall hugging. So like, you've done this amount of running when the optimal pathing, like just look at the amount of green on the screen versus if you just did, right? You've run all of the pink stuff, but then all of this additional zone, all of this, and all of this is unnecessary running caused by you putting your map away. Or in this particular case, this is just an inefficient line through the zone. Which again, for most intermediate runners, wall hugging is the correct thing, but I just happen to know that you've learned the zone. Breaking this habit of putting the map away is really good. Okay, and then we jump back, which is great. Okay, Okay, and then we are doing a kind of a silly thing, but we're going to contagion this mob. Right, and this mob, and this mob, and this mob. And so, the Obelisk of Rust is in a position where you can click on it safely without the mobs being any threat to you. And what you're doing right now is killing the mob. The reason that killing the mob is bad is because you're gonna kill the mob anyway during the spawn animation of the Rust King. And during the spawn animation of the Rust King, like, you can do whatever you want to lower this enemy's HP, and then if you contagion this enemy while it's standing next to Rust King, that contagion will then jump to Rust King, which is good. And contagion gets more damage every time it jumps. So the dot damage that you gain from contagion jumping to Rust King, especially because we just invested in having level 2 contagion, is going to be incredibly valuable, but you're prematurely killing this mob before it can do that to the Rust King, which saves you no time, right? You could be overlapping the spawn animation with some combat, and instead you're doing them in series instead of in parallel, which is bad.
Wild star.
Right.
Okay.
Right, that's now useless. This.
Okay, so let's talk about this fight for a little bit. The ring of enemies is here. The Rust King is here, and you're standing here. What that's going to do is it's going to cause the whole circle to collapse inward a little bit and walk toward you and string out into something that's closer to a line along this axis, right? That's not bad. However, Contagion and all of your other meaningful skills, right? Lightning Storm, Contagion, Vines, Volcano, only one of those is a line, and the rest of them are circles. So as a consequence, we prefer the enemy to stay in a dense circle, which means that standing on the outside of this ring of enemies instead of on the inside is a bad call. You have 115 HP, you're wearing a helm and boots, and Contagion's going to kill all these enemies super easily anyways. Additionally, you also have a static AoE spell in Volcano, which you now can't place anywhere because you're causing the Rust King to move. So if you want the Rust King to stay still on top of some static AoE spell, like Frostbomb or Volcano, you want the Rust King to stand still. The same thing is true of grenades, by the way. And so as a consequence, you should be standing like right next to him. And then you can be dodge rolling in order to avoid major slams, and you should be using Contagion and all your spells to clear this mob. But standing over here instead of here is going to lose you time. Okay, you also do, this is like again, this is super micro optimization nonsense. You're fighting the Rust King in a safe position. So the reason that this is a safe position is because the Rust King's lightning bolt can't exit the map. Okay, so you have this tree in this wall, and you have this wall, and where the Rust King is standing, he's going to try and summon his lightning bolt, and it's going to get clipped off by the wall here. So if you stand between the Rust King and this wall, or between the Rust King and this wall, so if you stand like roughly in this little triangle, his lightning bolt won't hit you. Okay, so what you end up doing instead right, so you're here, he starts his little lightning bolt, and you dodge roll down, whereas if you just continue hitting him with whatever your favorite DPS spell is and stand here, the lightning bolt, there will be a gap because it can't exit the map, and you can just walk into this little cone, continue hitting him the whole time, take no damage from the lightning bolt and have better DPS uptime, and instead you give up a second and a half the dodge roll for safety when the sidestep while continuing to attack gives you better DPS uptime. Okay, so we bring Rest King down to show you the VOD time. That's 9:57. Once again, we're going to subtract 20 seconds. So we've killed him in about 9:40. That's really bad. 9:40 is really bad. Not bad for, like, to be clear, you are of an advanced or intermediate level, and when I say bad, I'm not saying that you're a bad player. You're actually a very good player. You're faster than 99% of the player base. But I'm comparing you to, like, race winners, okay? And because you have the knowledge to achieve a much faster time than you're executing. Because everything that I'm saying in chat, you've already thought about, right? And so, I'm not being mean, but your stated goal is to get faster. And just so you know, on good RNG, 8 flat is, like, every single time. Every single time. Even on bad RNG. 8 flat every single time on Druid. Part of that is caused by, like, mapping habits. Part of that is caused by menuing habits. But we've already lost around 100 seconds, which is a big problem. The other thing that I want to say is that you got your level 2 skill gem, and then you spent it in an interesting way. So your level 2 skill gem is a big thing, because you only get one of them, right? You get multiple level 1s, you get multiple level 3s, but you only really get one guaranteed level 2, at least in the way that you're playing right now, because you're not going to go kill the Bramblegast. As a consequence, it's a little bit weird, because when you kill the Rust King, additional Contagion levels doesn't do much for you, right? Because Contagion, after it jumps one time, is doing more than enough damage to clear the junk soldiers from the Rust Obelisks, right? Especially with the amount of spell damage that you get on Tree as a Druid super early on. So, you could spend that level 2 on some skill that hits boss, right? Because that's a problem that you're going to have. I think that Volcano is a really good option. There are other options that are good at really low levels for spells. Like, it would be interesting to consider other options, but of the things that you're already investing in, you should have spent that level 2 on Volcano. Especially because in the version of the build that I'm advocating for, where you have Frostbomb instead of Vine, you're then stacking advantages to kill the Rust King itself quite quickly. Like, your Rust King fight, you strike the killing blow at 9:57, you summon the Rust King at 8:59, so you're doing a full minute of Rust King fight. If you had 30% more from Frostbomb and another 30% more from leveling up Volcano, your Rust King kill time, instead of being 60 seconds, is 60 divided by 1.6, which is, like, a huge deal, right? That's like 40 seconds, and that's, like, a gigantic time save. So consider that as an option. It's roughly 40 to 44 seconds. I don't want to do the exact math in my head, but my point is just reorganizing those 2 skill gems would kill the Rust King 15 to 20 seconds faster, which is a gigantic deal. And Volcano also helps with mobs, because level 1 Contagion is going to keep doing fine enough for you. It's 37.5, even better. Okay, we're going to jump forward again, because we kill the Rust King. Okay. We do good. We get really good loot. We get 2 fur plates, skill gem, ruby charm, nettle talisman, spell cap. So all of this is good. We pick up all of it, I assume.
Plates,
Rest
nettle
now.
talisman, rawhide belt. Rawhide belt's probably the best haul out of all of that.
Yep.
Don't think the nettle talisman really matters.
We then, we're going to ID all of this. But we, again, just, like, hover this item, don't ID it, and then go and ID the belt. when it doesn't really matter what mods are on the belt. Any belt is good because we have no belt equipped, and any 4-mod belt is guaranteed to have something. So you may as well just ID it and equip it, unless you're going to ID and sell it because you know that you're shopping. Right? But in any case, you should just be spam IDing this instead of, like, this little micro setter stuff.
Areas I would ask. Stick to the cards.
Guess we could identify both of these.
Yes. Finn makes
Okay, and then we click on Una and click buy or sell items. When alt click on Una opens her shop and control click opens the disenchant menu. So we just don't need to do that extra click at all because we, again, our hand is on the left side of the keyboard. We can easily press alt with our thumb if we're a WASD player, which we are. And so as a consequence, you can just not have this click happen at all. The other thing is that you then have 165 gold and you have 3 un-ID'd items. There is no world in which you are ever doing anything other than buying all of these things. Check Discord. Okay. Even better. Great. What you're showing me, by the way, for anyone who who can't see our Discord DMs and wants to know what it is that he's an ergonomic controller user, like Kovacs is. He's using, I can't remember what it's called. It's the controller that you put your hand inside where you can, whatever it is. It's an Azeron. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name. But yeah, it's good. Many buttons on the left hand. Good. The point is, we have hotkeys assigned to be able to do all of these different things. We can bind alt anywhere we want on our left hand and be able to do all of these menuing tricks that we should be doing. Like I was saying, we then have 165 gold and we need to ID 3 items. There is literally no reason for us to do anything other than control click this to buy ID scrolls, or control shift click it to just dump gold and buy 6 of them, because we want 6 of them anyways. We have a bunch of sellable stuff in our inventory. This rune can sell. We can sell this. We will probably end up selling all 3 of these unless this talisman is very, very good. We also can sell this belt if we need to buy any of these staves or wands. So, like, we should be shopping a lot more efficiently.
But I think it's charming.
Okay, so we ID this. Thorns goes away. Also, just to note, we've clearly already decided to ID all of these items, but instead we ID this, then compare to this, then sell this, then go back to this, then look at this, then ID this, then sell it, then ID this, then go back to this. Which is a lot.
We'll sell
It's
that
beautiful.
as is.
I accept.
Fuck it, I guess, though I don't use it.
Okay, then we have a regex where we can see 2 level. 2 level of what is going to identify all kinds of things. So, for example, we don't care about resistance in Act 1. We care about cold resistance. The only resistance we care about at all. And so, like, why are we using a regex that would ever highlight this item? Because neither one of these stats is even possibly good. How is this even on our regex? Right? Our regex is super non-specific, which is bad. Similarly here, cast speed. Why is this even on our regex? Like, what is highlighting this item? There's nothing good on this item. It shouldn't be highlighted.
Important there.
What have we got? What would...
And then again, we're now talking to Renly for the second time. So now we've walked past this. We've talked to Renly. We then walk back to Una. We then walk back to Renly, when we should have just talked to Una, talked to Renly, leave. This is like a huge amount of time in town. This is an insanely large amount of time in town.
Would you like?
I didn't check.
Now, like, again, just to make the point about regexes. There are 7 martial weapons highlighted. There's no way that all of these have plus levels. There's no way.
Check for a helmet.
We then want to check for a helmet. Why? We are already wearing a helmet. We don't need a better helmet. A better helmet cannot possibly save us time because we are a strength hybrid class. There is no way that a helmet will save us time at all. Plus minion. So we're shopping for a plus minion helm. Let's go ahead, just because I'm curious. I'm going to pull up PV2DB and look at the modifiers, because I bet plus minion can't show up until later. Hello? Please load? Okay, never mind. We're just going to keep going, I guess, for now. We'll wait for that tab to load.
Till next time.
Attacks anymore. Which, you know, we say we don't care about attacks, but I just wasted a scroll on Metal Talisman.
So, we killed Rust King. We killed Rust King at like 9:50, right? And then we spent nearly a minute and a half in town. That's a lot. That's like 20 or 30 seconds longer than you need it to be.
Didn't have to.
Wild spawn.
Sometimes I get a little confused.
What happened here?
I'm so used to running like I don't even know, a super convoluted build that requires a lot of bullshit.
Okay.
These roads will nae budge for me.
This is an extremely minor point. Like, I'm going to keep making extremely minor points, and then we'll circle back on pedagogical, like, priorities in a second. When you're in Grim Tangle here, you make a portal. You are standing on top of a waypoint. Clicking waypoint and then clicking go home means that you don't need to see this animation where you swirl around and make your portal. And that saves about 1.5 seconds. So, like, don't worry about that for now. But, like, right now, this is a bad habit. You should be using waypoints to navigate when it's convenient if you're standing right on top of the waypoint anyways. The other thing is that you've now forced yourself to go through more loading screens than you need to. What I mean by that is that you, like, freed the hooded one, and then you went to Grim Tangle, and then you went into Grim Tangle, which is a loading screen. And then now you're going out of Grim Tangle, which is a loading screen. And then you're going to talk to this, and then you're going to go back. Whereas it's more efficient to do it in the reverse order, where you free the shade, immediately go to town, and then checkpoint hop, because there's one fewer zone transition, which is weird, but it saves like 1 second. It doesn't actually matter. For any of the YouTube commenters who are going to point out that it's the same number of loading screens, yes, but when the quest tree changes, it actually needs to change the Grim Tangle, so actually your loading on the back end is like 0.5 second faster. But in any case, like, this is fine. That's an extremely minor optimization point that doesn't matter.
11 minutes? That's not bad
The
for me.
wound on the green.
Okay. Then now we go back here and we summon Una, and I'm going to call our Grim Tangle entry roughly 11:30. The reason I'm going to call it 11:30 is because, like, you did it in the reverse order. To give you some idea, 8:40 is like the threshold for a run not to be terrible for me. And I think that, like, you can, the fastest I've ever had is actually a 7 flat, to give you some idea. And that's on crossbows, which is slower than Druid. So, like, the ceiling is, like, way up there. But typical run, you should be aiming for, like, 8:20. And instead, you're at, like, 11:20-ish if we subtract the pre-Riverbank time. So you're, like, 3 minutes slower than, like, typical, even though you've had decent RNG already. Like, you already have movement speed boots, you already have a staff that has gain as extra, right? So you should be 3 minutes faster than you already are.
Before we can... Oh, lagging.
If the face.
Ropes and snare!
Okay, this is a really good example. The way that you fight this mob is something that I'm going to point out about, just as, like, a Contagion player. This mob is dead. That mob is dead now. With no further interaction from the player, this mob is already dead. But instead, the mob died at 11:48 and we didn't move on until 11:51, so we lost 3 seconds of standing still. Like, the mob was already dead. Okay, and then we get our way blocked, which is fine. Good.
Oh. Cool.
That'll make it reach.
I'd like to have...
Okay, and then, because you invested the level 2 skill gem in... How do I say this? Part of the reason that at the super high end, again, I am talking about racing. Dear YouTube commenters, I am talking about racing. I am not talking about league starting. I am not talking about anything else. I'm talking about racing. Part of the reason that Vines interacts poorly with Contagion is because you want enemies to be close to each other, but Vine is a linear skill, and Volcano is a circular skill, which allows us to position differently in order to optimally attack enemies that are like grouped more closely together. The way that we engage this mob, when we come around this corner, you cast Contagion, which is good. Right? So we get our Vine off, and then we pick an enemy, and we try to get it on a low HP enemy. So now we have this guy Contagioned, right? And then we also see that this HP bar is really low, and this HP bar is really low, and they are near the other clump of enemies. And instead of casting Contagion on them, which would help it jump from enemy to enemy, and Contagion we've invested our only level 2 in, so it's our highest priority skill at the moment, we instead cast more Vines, right? Which prevents Contagion from catching. Like, this guy could have, and this guy could have second jump Contagion on them, which is a really powerful skill at this point. And instead, all of our Contagion is over here, away from the bulkier high HP enemies, because we chose to cast Vine instead of casting Contagion.
I'd like to have...
And then Contagion finally catches once we kite the wolves onto those guys. And then they die, which is fine. This is like, 1 second slower than the optimal skill ordering.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Okay. We consider respawning at checkpoint, which is fine.
I'd rather read the area than fucking do a unique.
I think that that's the correct decision, by the way, to rerun.
The ones when the boss run is like...
Not picking up that level 2, by the way, is like an enormous grief. Not picking up that level 2 is like a big problem. Because you have multiple level 1 skills. You still have level 1 Volcano, you still have level 1 Vines. Problem.
Fortunately, it doesn't respect, which makes sense. Oh, it's not partial.
Okay.
That's cool. Okay, so one of these needs to be Essence Drain, and one of these needs to be Pounce.
So cutting Pounce here is an interesting choice. I disagree with cutting Pounce here. So you're going to be forced to get an additional level 3 from Lachlan. And between now and Lachlan, you have one really open zone where Pounce is going to help you. That being the cemetery. And a couple of really closed zones where Pounce is not going to help you that much. Because Mausoleum of the Prader, there are like a couple places to use it. But, for example, Tomb of the Consort, the hallways are narrow, the enemies block the way, Pounce doesn't save that much time, compared to just having more damage to clear the hallway out faster. Right? So if you saved that level 3 and upgraded Contagion, or upgraded Volcano, or some other damaging skill, that probably matters more for you. Whereas Pounce becomes super important in zones like Ogham Farmland, for example, where you have long linear running sections, or you have walls that you can jump over. The same is true of Ogham Farmlands, Ogham Village, Manor Rampart, Pounce ends up being super important there, but it's not nearly as important earlier on compared to getting your damage online, especially considering the fact that you're about to fight 3 bosses, because you're going to fight Assinia, Draven, and Lachlan before you get to those zones. So your movement, being able to pounce, which saves like half a second per pounce, and for big jumps, which there are a couple of in Mausoleum of the Prader, it saves like 4 seconds. But in any case, Pounce is probably only going to save you like a cumulative total of 15 to 20 seconds, whereas just having more damage is going to save you way more time than that.
If I am right, this is I only glanced at the notes in the Codex Discord for this area. Like I said, the only area I've learned is Vale.
So you say in chat, Pounce kind of helps me out of mob walls and adds 3% damage when I remember to use it. 3% damage is nothing. Game volume is giga loud. Okay, we will turn the game volume down. 3% damage is nothing. Like, for example, the base DPS of Contagion at the level that you're using, it is 4 damage per second. So you're saying it adds 0.12 DPS. No, that's not your fault, Blanksuu, that's my fault. Whereas, like, leveling up Contagion 1 more level is going to add 40% more damage. So, like, which would you rather have? 3% more damage and the ability to leap 1 second at a time, or 40% more damage? Also, you're in the middle of saying that you, like, haven't studied Grim Tangle. You absolutely should not study Grim Tangle. In fact, my advice to you is to completely stop studying layouts altogether until you're an hour faster than you are right now. Okay. And then we get out into... Okay, we're going to go for the boss. That's fine.
Or it's over here to the side. Check both of these. This doesn't consider
So, not that this matters, because I literally just told you to stop studying layouts altogether, but the boss always spawns near the exit. So it's always faster to backtrack. Except for in very weird layouts, but that doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about layouts for like the rest of the run, except for at a super high level, heuristic level, because I'm telling you, like, stop majoring in the minor. Okay.
Spawn a checkpoint. This is honestly a big waste of fucking time.
Okay.
This is why knowing layouts is important. Did I not? I didn't. Son of a bitch.
Okay, and then we got all of our skills assigned.
Should be somewhere over here now. That's just gold.
So, we're currently level 6, which is good. But we're still taking XP. When, like, why are we taking XP? We're level 6, we don't need XP. We need to run the zone. But all of this is fun. Like all this backtracking stuff is totally fun. There we go. We found the Druid.
The hell? Oh.
Fellow Druid, not ye as well.
By the way, the fact that you throw away vines right now is part of the reason that Frostbomb is so strong, in addition to the fact that, like, Volcano being stronger than... Like, it's more important for you to skill gem upgrade Volcano than it is for you to skill gem upgrade Contagion. But, because you're going to hit level 6 so fast either way, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, you're still using level 1 Volcano. You could have level 1 Frostbomb right here, and level 2 Volcano right here, and be doing, like, 60 or 70% more damage against the boss. I'll stop reiterating the point, but, like, your skill gem ordering does matter a lot. Okay, and then we kill the boss. We're doing great.
I only hope you do the same.
2 minutes.
So I'm a bit confused by some of your pathing here. So you've told me that helms are super important because plus minion levels is super clutch for your build. It's important enough that you're taking an extra shopping trip to Renly 3 minutes ago for you to pick it up. But then 2 helms drop on the ground next to you and you don't pick up an ID then. So either you think helms are super important or you don't. Because the lower time loss thing is just to pick up every helm and ID it and then throw it away if it doesn't have plus minions. But you're not doing that. Whereas you are like regex shopping for minion helms. You're going out of your way to do that. So like this is an inconsistency in your strategy.
Room 2.
Okay, and then we get into Cemetery of the Eternals in we'll call this 16 flat, because again we're subtracting 20 seconds. 16 flat is fine. I would say that without any layout knowledge at all, and including killing the Rotten Druid, just by breaking a couple of your habits, you could probably get to like pretty consistent 11 to 11:30. Race lead at this point is sub 10. But like you can get to 11 to 11:30, you can say 5 minutes by just like all these little menuing things of like holding control to assign stuff. And then also you are super over indexed on HP right now. Like you are at least a quarter to a half of a level higher than you need to be. Because you're you're 6 1/3, we'll call it. Not that you would ever actually want to do this. I'm not saying that you should do this. But you can get into this zone as low as level 4 and experience no penalty. So you're creating a situation for yourself where like you've spent time killing a couple of extra white mobs. Like I pointed out 2 of them that you just straight up didn't need to kill. And you're losing 20 or 30 seconds there that you just don't need to and isn't adding any value for you. Because you're going to, like as a Contagion player, or any skill that has any good amount of AoE, which is also true of grenades, which is also true of bolts, which is also true of lightning arrow, which is also true of bone shatter, any skill that you're realistically going to be using in a competitive setting at this point, you are going to be able to hit level 8 before Lachlan, even if you enter Cemetery of the Eternals at level 5 with 0% experience. Just by killing things that like are forced into your way in Tomb of the Consort and Mausoleum of the Prader, without killing anything else. So like you're taking way too much XP. The blue packs are obviously good. The Vol beacons are obviously good. Obviously, you get a ton of experience in Red Veil. That's good. And taking experience in Red Veil is better than taking it in Grim Tangle. By which I mean like taking optional white pack experience in Red Veil is better than taking optional white pack experience in Grim Tangle. And the reason for that is that is that like as you go up zone levels, you haven't leveled up any of your skills after getting out of Red Veil, right? But the zone level has gone up. So compared to the strength of the zone, you are weaker. So like your character growth is not a line, it's a staircase, right? And so what that means is as you progress from zone to zone, like here you're super weak compared to the zone, and here you're super strong compared to the zone. So my point is like you get a level 2, you get a higher level, you get a level 2 skill gem, right? So Contagion is stronger, but then as you progress to zone and zone and zone and zone and zone, there are taking that optional white pack experience becomes less and less efficient because you're weaker. So as a consequence, I would be like much happier to see you like give up on studying Red Veil and just wall hug your way around and take a bit more experience there than to see you at your current skill level like run Red Veil super optimally but then need to take inefficient experience. That's different for like race win quality people, but you know, there's the idea. Okay. We get Mausoleum of the Prader super early, which is fine. Okay, let's talk about this whole zone reset thing that people do. Some classes it matters for, some classes it doesn't. Druid is one where it doesn't. The reason being, the best possible drop that you can get in this zone. Actually, can someone, is this up yet? Yeah, this is up. Now we're gonna check one thing here. Staves, modifiers, prefix, level of all spell skills can first occur at level 5. And then level of all fire spell skills can happen at level 2. Yeah, so it's 2, 5, 18, and 25 are the levels that we care about. That's good to know. So the reason that I bring this up is because there are staves that can have level 4 implicit skills at level 10, which is dope. And there's no meaningful level 11 breakpoint that's relevant to you. Because, like, you're not using maces, so you're not going to get a Forge Maul. So as a consequence, zone resetting to get higher level zones is actually detrimental to your progress on Druid. The reason being that, like, instead of getting an 8 zone, which can drop up to level 10 items, and a 9 zone, which can drop up to level 11 items, you're now getting 2 of these, but this change doesn't do anything for you. I do it because I overall struggle with XP and I'm not very competent with sub 14 Geonor. The XP gain that you, how do I say this? In terms of XP per HP, so like amount of results compared to amount of effort, you are getting no additional benefit. Like, a level 9 mob is not giving you meaningful amount of bonus XP compared to the amount of time that it's taking for you to level up to kill them. Right? Duration of fight, result of fight, time efficiency. It's not actually that much better. Because the level 9 mobs get tankier and they're harder to kill.
Oh, you fuckers. Thank you.
Okay. We are also, by the way, like, holy shit, please kill this mob. Please kill this mob. The other thing is that in this particular case, because you don't yet have like a really high level staff, you don't have plus levels, you have a single damage modifier. Gain is extra, which is kind of dope. But we already saw like Essence Drain is not killing things super fast. So you should absolutely be doing Essence Drain and then Contagion, because Contagion latches onto the lowest HP enemy, right? And so doing CED in the order that you did, after that first pack, like, you can consciously check, like, oh, my weapon RNG is good or bad. I don't know if Contagion is going to kill the first monster. But then you enter into the zone and you check the first pack, and you should see, oh, I could totally just Essence Drain this guy, and then apply Contagion and it'll auto-catch. And then you can check that every time that you enter a new zone, where you cast Essence Drain on the first thing to see, and you should have some intuition for what the tanky and low HP monster types are. Like, a good example of this is Hunting Ground, where the little apes will die to Contagion and Essence Drain too fast for it to catch. But the Venom Crabs and the Roas will have more HP. I do it because I'm killing with ED before I can grab Zenith. So what I'm saying is, like, the situation for you is that if you want to be a high level racer, you need to be able to adjust dynamically to the weapon RNG that you get up and down. No, these are Hyphaman Edition XS Wind Streak. And so, like, you're saying, oh, I've developed this habit because usually X. And my argument is, like, the whole point is that, like, if you want consistency, there are a million speedrun games that are super consistent. The thing that's beautiful about PoE and other ARPG speedruns is that you need to be dynamic in order to respond to things. Sometimes you need to be level 33, sometimes you need to be 31, sometimes you need to do this or that or the other thing. And all of those are situational. So you should develop the habit of checking the mob, especially unless you have like a giga weapon where you then know the situation, right? Because knowing, oh, I have plus 60% spell damage plus 2 spell levels plus cast speed plus this and that. Oh, and I got an extra support gem drop. Like, you know when you're in the situation where it's going to be super over-indexed, but you haven't had anything exceptional happen this run. I'm using a SMSL SH6 SU6 DAC and amp stack. So I have like a $480 DAC and amp stack at the time that I bought it, I think. But in any case, no, that's like a $300 stack. Either way, yeah, I'm using SMSL, SU6, and SH6. But to go back to the point, like, of coaching, to get back on topic, that stuff is super important for you to do dynamically. Right, so like, okay, do we get it to catch? Do we get it to catch? There we go, we got it to catch. We got it to catch, and then it didn't work. Cool. And then now it catches? There we go. Cool. Also, just because I'm curious, I just want to check this really quickly. Spells deal 30% more damage while you are above 90% of your maximum mana. That's what I thought. If we just, like... So we grab Zenith, and then we spend, like, meaningful fractions of our time at, like, 1/4 mana. So we could use Swift Affliction, or Unleash, or Rapid Casting, or any other generic good thing. Because right now you're like not using your mana flask nearly aggressively enough to have Zenith be helping you literally at all. Right? Because you can get an approximate 15 to 30% bonus from all kinds of places. But like the one for Zenith is super duper uber conditional. And during the speedrun, you're going to be, like, not at 100% mana, like, most of the time. Controlled destruction, there are, like, a million things that could be better. At the level of optimization that we're working at right now, of trying to get to a first sub-3 Tavakai, just, like, anything that always applies is pretty good. So, like, anything. Like, I listed, like, 5 things, we could list, like, 5 more, right? But the point is, these conditional things that require a greater amount of like cognitive load to manage, like, because now I need to worry about managing my mana, and that's one more variable for me to keep track of. Yes, would a theoretical infinite skill player be able to do that, and therefore it's 5% better and you should do that? Yes. But like right now, we should just reduce the complexity of the build if it's going to be that we are not able to do the best possible thing. Like, for example, if you are driving on the highway, you don't need to do fancy left foot braking in order to change lanes. You're not a Formula One driver, right? And so until we develop the fundamental habits that make it where we, start climbing up to those ceilings of optimization, Zenith is just probably pretty bad compared to, like, for example, we had a ton of difficulty getting Essence Drain and Contagion to catch on these mobs. Does it boost our damage? No, but Chain solves that problem, which is a very tangible problem in this, though. I'm not saying don't Zenith because you're small brain. I'm saying it's true of literally every single human being that while you are developing a new habit, you need to apply cognitive load to the habit formation, and then we can go back and revisit for optimization. That's just how learning works. And so when we're installing that new habit, immediately jumping up to the most complex version of the task is pedagogically inefficient. I'm not calling you stupid. I don't think that you are. I'm just saying from an educational perspective, when we're approaching any novel task in life, you wouldn't, for example, take your 8-year-old who's learning to play Little League T-ball and have them go against an MLB pitcher. You would have them play against T-ball because we start with the habit formation of holding the bat correctly. Then we play machine pitch when we're 10 years old because that gives the ball in a consistent position and that works with the hand-eye coordination. Then we're working against pitchers who are of our level. And then when we get to the big leagues, we're working against people who can throw 100 miles an hour. That's different, right? The whole point is that we want to be climbing the ladder of habit formation, and we can't do that. You'll never get there if you start at the most complex version of the task. Right? So, like, right now we're having a problem getting Essence Drain Contagion to catch. Like, you can see that all these mob kills are really slow. Just chain, man. Just chain. We know that we're about to be in, like, 8 zones in a row where there's good mob density and things are going to be hard to get Essence Drain Contagion to catch. Just throw chain on there. There's no real reason not to. Okay. Now we're good to go.
Oh, what, is she right there then?
By the way, you're out loud in the VOD, you're asking a bunch of, like, good questions about...
Sorry.
I hope you feel better soon, man. The coughing is funny. I hope that you feel better. By the way, you're asking a bunch of good questions, and like this route that you took, like, great. Right? I'm glad that you're wall hunging. Okay, and then we get into Tomb of the Consort. I don't know what Fisherman's Friend is. Okay, and then we want to be quick assigning our stat nodes, which is fine. Yeah, the common brand here would be Ricola. The common brand in the US would be Ricola.
The fact that it wasn't in the starting point.
Okay. We then chose to not take that blacksmiths, which is fine. Yeah, Halls or Ricola would be the common ones.
Okay, we found it.
Cool. We then did a super cool advanced speedrunner thing where we banged our light radius into this to find the support gem, which is dope. We have yet another slow-moving boss-type enemy that we deterministically run into, where it would be really cool to have Frostbomb.
Breaks armor.
And level 2 Volcano.
He's got Mega Aura.
Don't make me pull up the Ricola throat lozenge commercial where the guy with the horn says, Ricola! Alright, we pick up all of our stuff. We open the chest.
Got 2 different attuned wands that could possibly.
Okay. Cool. Again, we should be playing with overlay map right now.
I really want the necklace. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna search for the necklace just because it's really nice to have.
You're gonna search for the necklace? You are absolutely griefing. You just hit level 8, I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, you just hit level 8. You have the whole Mausoleum of the Prader to finish. And, like, you're backtracking to find an amulet? Holy smokes.
No, it's oh, hey.
If you were like level 7 flat, I can understand you going like, oh, I might as well go take one more magic pack. Or if this were your second of the 2 tombs, this is, yeah.
Luckily we had a really compact
If you were, again, if you were like level 7 flat, I totally get wanting one more magic pack and thinking, oh, I can go grab it over here.
Yikes. Alright.
Okay.
The one we didn't need for this build. I guess let's do rapid casting again. Let's do strength. That requires level 10.
Now you shall meet your
Okay. This boss fight is like gonna be way longer than it needs to be because we're not using any of our good single target things. You know, we have a nettle talisman with like multiple modifiers on it. We have a yellow tier 5 weapon. We're not using it. I don't know why. We still don't have Frostbomb or Volcano leveled up. I don't know why. Like, you've chosen skill gem allocation. That means that this fight is just going to be twice as long as it needs to be. And then even among the items that you currently have equipped, you go into the fight and she's already a third dead, roughly, before you equip, you know, Maul, which is super important. So one of these things that would be super important to premeditate is having the conscious thought that during the spawn animation you want to assign whatever your best skill is. Now, Druid is a class that at the super high end, I would expect a player like Guy That Dies or Angormus, who have spent months developing the good habits, that they could decide, like, fluidly, oh, this time I need to use the melee attack and this time I need to use the spell based on the particular items that I got. I totally get that, but like, this is just really bad. Okay, so we kill Asinia. And then we have like 500 blue items in our inventory.
Sorry. I don't have a... Ah, shit.
And Gormus in chat says, I never used Maul on Druid because it's always the worst with the supports I cut. True. However, this particular run, he has a 2 damage prefix Nettle Talisman. Like, just in inventory. I think it was like IPD and Flat Fire. So, like, my point is, with the... Since we didn't cut Volcano or Frostbomb, Maul good damage because we have good item and bad spell supports. Whereas if we had optimal spell supports, it would be closer and we wouldn't need to think that hard. But like in this particular run, there's a different decision there. Yeah, no Frostbomb. No Frostbomb. Correct.
I have a mute button on the setup on the laptop.
And his Volcano is level 1.
Okay, that's a corner. We're going this way.
Cool. And then we're doing a heuristic read of Mausoleum of the Prader, which is dope. We're checking things using our light radius, which is great.
I don't think this actually gives... no, it's not what?
Okay, hold up. Blanksuu, stop calling yourself a 2-head. Okay? That's not the point. The point of active coaching is that you are learning things and you're trying a new hobby and we're engaging in constructive criticism. You're not stupid. You're learning. So, like, the whole reason that I keep on going, from a pedagogical efficiency perspective, this is the thing that you should focus on, isn't because I'm saying you're too dumb to play the high-end build. That's not my point. I'm saying structurally and pedagogically, the thing that we care about is good habit formation, and we will worry about mathematical optimization later. Feeling bad about yourself and having that negative self-talk is also going to impede your ability to learn and be productive. That is bad. Like, don't self-talk that way. The whole point is that, like, you're actually doing really well. Like, you're very clearly a top 1% player. And the fact that you're engaged in this kind of self-criticism already, the constructive kind, where you're doing your own VOD review and where you're, you know, sharing POBs with people, is already a very high-end habit. But please don't be using this as an opportunity to insult yourself.
supposed to travel by.
Alright, what do we want? Extra cold.
Am I a teacher?
I should say.
I don't know how to answer that. I'm a PhD student who's taken multiple courses in pedagogical practices as part of the certification for college and university teaching. But my PhD is not in social science or education. It's completely unrelated. So, like, have I taken courses in, like, education? Yes. But am I an expert on education? No. But I'm not by any means an expert in education. Cool. We're doing fine. Cool. And
A warlord in life.
cool.
Damn nuisance in death.
And we're back into Cemetery of the Eternals.
And we did grab the checkpoint this time.
Okay. And then we do checkpoint reset.
25 minutes.
And okay, I'm going to skip forward with this because the Lachlan fight, there's not much to talk about. The reason that there is not much to talk about is, like, really simple. If you were using a different skill gem setup, there would be interesting things to discuss. So, for example, like, I'll give you, like, a really silly example of, like, a very high-end thing that you could be doing. If you were closer to the more typical set of skill and support gems, so you had Volcano, you had Frostbomb, and then you get this really good talisman, you could think, like, oh, I want to have a copy of some gem that applies to both of those things because I'll be using, you know, Volcano long-term or Frostbomb long-term, but I want to be able to use Maul now. And the only thing that I can think of that does damage for both of those things would be Concentrated Area, which, you know, isn't optimal, but at least it would provide you damage upside on both of those things. Similarly, the way that you engage Lachlan would need to change, because if you were using Frostbomb and Volcano, you would want him to stay in one position. So you'd be, like, positioned here, and you'd be trying to get him to stay on top of your Volcano and Frostbomb. So you would either, like, get the wall pin off where you hug his knees, or you'd be, like, circling him over and over. But because we're using Wither instead, or rather we're using this combination of Wither and Essence Drain, we end up kiting him, which is fine, but, like, hard to comment on mechanically. You get roughly a 25 flat. I'll call it a 25 flat. Fine.
Your memory twisted into madness. But the Driocht spare me the same.
Okay, and then we go back to town. Going back to town here is not normal. Also, picking up Lachlan's ring. Not normal.
Can use this level 3 to...
So, like, our inventory is completely slam full of valuable things. By the way, our currency management is, like, nothing is organized at all. We also, for some reason, still have this skill gem in inventory, which is a mess. You do it here to sell, that's fine. Especially if you, like, are searching for a rare modifier, which casters frequently are, because you want plus spell levels. you may want to do it pretty naturally before you level up anyways, right? Because you want the shop refresh. So if you're like, Dan, if I sell now, not only can I clear my full inventory, I can potentially afford the nice stuff. Because I have so many things in inventory that I can sell. I have rare, 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 magic, rare, 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 right? So like all of these things, you're gonna have like 2,000 gold. This is fine. Just depends what your rationale is about whether or not it's a good decision. But picking up Lachlan's ring is extremely sad. Because this summoning animation, but then you do the correct thing, which is to then walk away.
This gives 10 strength. Which is technically better.
Okay.
So if we are...
Okay, we ID all.
Yes, these are
We
just
fire
the
sell
odds and
items.
ends of mine.
Spell damage. Level of all cold spell skills. Oh, and then we should just sell. Sell.
Plus one physical spells
It's
could be
beautiful.
better.
I accept.
Rarity, fuck it. Sell. Hold that, I guess. So. Useless.
Okay. This is
I will treasure it.
this is pretty slow.
Stay safe, if you can.
This hoodie, I heard you had it. What would you like?
Let's do, see if he has helmet. He doesn't. Sell that.
Till next time.
Fuck out of here.
And then we go to hunting grounds, which is fine.
Hunting ground.
Okay.
Shouldn't be
Best be
going this
careful shape-shifting, lest I take an arrow.
And then now we're level 9. We're into the hunting grounds. We lost a little over a minute to that trip to town, which is fine.
Definitely should.
But also, we're level 9, which is, like, you know, we're doing fine on XP. So when we see individual monsters, like this pair of 2 roas, we don't need to kill. We have more than enough XP, but when we can kite together larger packs, especially of the roas and apes, which tend to be pretty easy to group up, because they have high move speed, we want to do more. We're doing a much better job in here about using our overlay map, which is good. You are a little bit closer to the wall than you need to be for proper painting. So what I mean by that is, like, your light radius is this large, right? So if instead of standing like right against the wall, if you stood here, we would actually have a bigger fraction of the map revealed. So if you like had walked more like this, there are a couple of places where it really matters for finding key map features. For example, like the support gem point of interest is hard to identify unless you're particularly close to the wall. So I can understand not wanting to do this particular thing, because then you start missing gaps in the wall like this. The distance moved being smaller as well. The other thing is that you're more likely to be able to identify things that you care about for mob density reasons that spawn in the middle of the zone. So for example, the League mechanic can spawn freestanding in the middle of the zone, and the Ritual has the opportunity for you to farm a level 4 skill gem if you really want the upgrade, which at your particular point you really do. Because you're still using a bunch of level 1 skills, including Volcano. Right. So you could get a level 4, you could get a free Exalt, you could get more magic packs, you could get the Ritual, which has high density, all that things there. So all this good stuff.
Why did I respawn when I could have just used the checkpoint? Surely these two are closer rather than me going all the way.
Okay, and then we get the support gem. Cool. We use Maul. Good.
Shit. Kind of hurt him.
Cool.
Nature takes what's old.
We get that Targe. Good, 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 good. Oh, we almost got it to catch. That's good. Good. There we go. We got it to catch. Invulnerability aura. Add GG. GG. No, this is great. This is the EDC gameplay we want to see. That's the Essence Rain Contagion we want to see. Good.
This needs
We're cutting together multiple magic packs
easier.
of high mobility enemies. We're getting it to catch early. This is the gameplay we want to see. Hunting Grounds is one of the easier zones for this sort of gameplay.
Two. There. That's great.
Okay. Crowbell fight is just going to be really slow because we lack good bossing skills. Yeah. We've just chosen skill gems that are not super great.
Honestly, this is
Yeah. I'm going to skip a bit of the Crowbell fight just to save time because I know that you have a deadline in a little bit. And we get out here in 30, I'll call it 30 flat. Race lead here is like, depending on RNG, blah, 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 like 19 minutes, maybe a little faster. So, since I have fever again, I can't go to work in the morning. Okay, I'll be a little bit more. Okay, cool. Your XP is in a great spot. You're a level 9 and 80%. But you're now like 11 minutes behind. Which is really interesting because you're about to enter into a couple of zones that happen to be like much easier for Essence Rain Contagion. So like, and you're starting to get your like more skill gems to level 3, so like things are evening themselves out. So I think that a lot of these like earlier optimizations and skill gems, it's just your resource poor, and so you end up farther off of things. Like small mistakes matter a lot more. Which is why I'm saying you should reorganize your skill gem cutting order, and you should cut Frostbomb, and you should prioritize upgrading Volcano over Contagion and all these small things. And then now, for like the rest of Act 1, you're actually going to play pretty close to the race lead. Okay. Okay. You're saying that you need to get XP in this area. I actually think that you're bang on the money. You're going to hit level 10 really early in the zone. We do the fancy pounce skip.
This will give Una something to smile about.
Okay. Cool. So we hit level 10. Cool. You make the correct side decision there, which is dope. We're not going to talk about map reading too much because it's, you know, majoring in the minor stuff. And you're going to go out of your way to fight Vargir because you want the level 4? Is that what you're doing? This is a bad habit that I have as well, so I want to say that before I do this. When you walk by here and then you make the decision to go look for Vargir, which is a decision, I think it's fine at your skill level. Yeah, exactly. You should 100% have grabbed this checkpoint. There's no reason for you to not grab this checkpoint. I do this in runs, so I completely understand like the thought here of like, for example, there's often a strongbox that spawns here or here, and I, on stream all the time, this is a mistake that I make that I need to work on. I sometimes will like do this, which is a bad habit. I 100% should stop doing that, and I should do that to grab the checkpoint and then go. So. Isn't Vargir on the other side, though? Yes, however, in talking to what I am calling an intermediate player who is sub 4 but not sub 3, I'm just not going to care about like map reading mistakes all that much. So like, I'm just going to let that one be. The idea that a heuristic level player could think that Vargir could be in this box is like, that's fine. You know, I don't. That's not what we're caring about.
We hit at least one level in this next area.
Okay, so we need. So we're currently 10.5, and you correctly say that you want to be like roughly level 11.5 before you enter the next zone, which is cool. Okay. We're still playing a little bit anxiously with respect to like trusting that our essence drains have caught on the mobs. But overall, your skill usage is much better than it was in the first half of the act. Okay. Okay, that's actually bold with respect to your essence drain catching. Yeah, so actually, let's go back and talk about that. So, I said here, I say that on this mob,
Rotten flame. Something
you mouse over this mob, it's a white mob. Okay. You see that it's a white mob. You then get the essence drain off, and the contagion off, and it's below half HP. It's like a third HP or something. And it's like well positioned. And then you dodge roll and you see this next mob down here. But you still choose to like turn around and cast one more spell, which is a bit of an anxious play. This is like 1 second level spell usage. And then you continue the cast after seeing it's caught, right? So it's now proliferated and it's doing a ton of damage, so you don't need to do this again. But that's fine. Right? And then it continues to catch. And then here, you see that it's a magic mob. You don't even need to mouse over anything. You can see that it has Trail of Lightning. Right? And so you then... The... Yeah, so like... How do I say this? Here you're overcasting by one cast. And here, you are undercasting by one cast. Wait, let me... It was not this mob, because this is a white mob. But then here, you get the contagion off, and it's way over half HP. And then you walk off screen before doing anything else. So, like, this mob up here, you overcast. And this mob down here, I'm talking about this next magic pack, this one, you undercast by one cast. Because if you look at your HP bar, right, if you look here, you're 7% away from a level, and if you kill a magic pack, you will gain 7%. And then if you just look, that magic pack clearly didn't die. So you need to be like you need to be a bit more cavalier about white packs and a bit more deliberate about blue packs. Like, that's like the big thought. You need to be a bit more like loosey-goosey about white mob XP and a bit more deliberate about blue mob XP, because one blue mob is worth 3.5 white mobs. So like, one extra spellcast to guarantee the equivalent of 3 packs of XP is worth it. Even if it's a waste of 1 second, we're happy to waste 1 second cumulatively across 3.5 packs worth of XP. Cool. So now we're level 11. We get the checkpoint. Okay. Okay, and then we reset checkpoint and we go check another common position for Renly's tools, I imagine. Cool. Good. Good.
Can I carry anymore?
Mean, I can't carry that. Oh shit. I'll put that on then. Drop that. Fuck. I should have been managing this already. Alright.
Okay, this is a silly point. So you see a pair of shoes on the ground that you want because they're yellow.
Carry anymore?
You then open your inventory and equip this.
Mean, I can't carry that.
Right,
Oh,
so you
shit.
equip your chest
Put
piece,
that on then.
and
Drop that.
at this moment, this is me being super pedantic. There are like 500 ways to optimally be able to pick up both of these things, right? Because it's a 3x2 and a 2x2. So just moving this over one slot, you could then just close your inventory and pick up both of these things. But you continue to just like play inventory Tetris.
Fuck. I should have been managing this already.
Right. Because instead of playing optimal inventory Tetris, you just left adjust your whole inventory, which is totally fine for a casual like player. That's chill. And again, this is more like detailed pedantic nonsense stuff, but like you're just not playing in a way where it seems like super urgent to you to get back to town. So like let's suppose that we just want the yellow item because we're just like reducing cognitive load and we're just thinking yellow item good. We know that a pair of shoes is 2x2. You have a 2x2 slot open in your inventory like ridiculously early in this whole sequence, right? Right, so like
Can I carry anymore?
we open our inventory,
Can't carry that. Oh shit.
we have a 2x2 slot right now. Right? So like 3405.
Put that on then. Drop that. Fuck. I should have been managing this already. Alright.
11 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that, of just standing still, organizing stuff in our inventory. The other thing is that if you look at Druid tree, if I switch to a Druid, we come over here. If you look at what you're doing on the tree, your path through the tree is this. Couple of things. These nodes, 10% area damage, 8 damage, 8 damage, right? These nodes, 10, 10, 20. So cumulatively, this is 26 damage, and this is 40. So, like, why would we ever take these three before taking these three when 100% of our damage is coming from spells? So, like, those spell damage nodes are, like, ridiculously strong and should definitely be taken first.
I guess we'll put this on. I don't want to waste shit on it. I want to find an inn.
And this is again a place where Volcano would be really helpful to us along with Crossbomb.
I knew that was the quick swing coming. He always fucks me up with that one. Ooh, we survived? Holy fuck. That was really lucky on our part. We were not prepared for that one. Stop. Oh my, we survived too? Alright. We're getting ridiculously lucky right now.
you know, not the best fight execution.
Obviously, so we're just gonna add this
All hail Taxing Dead, the Carnation Count.
1% more damage.
This is why this skill build is bad, by the way. Okay, so we kill Executioner. You're playing with Screen Shake, which, like, yikes.
Nice.
Okay, and then you're doing, and then this is, I have to make this point. Okay. Look at your XP. Your XP is right here. Okay. And then there's all of these all of this is on your screen, and you get Essence Drain Contagion to catch on it. Let's just see how much XP we get from doing that.
The reason why I'm letting me keep my inventory so full.
That's right, you get none.
Time loss. I'm never gonna get first place anyway, so.
They don't give XP, but I don't like them following me. I don't care what you like. It's not optimal. You're a speedrunner. If you're playing for fun, that's great. But don't think that way.
Taking that small time loss for quality of life seems helpful to me.
The village.
You found, I think. For what it did.
Also, by the way, whenever you're receiving an item from an NPC, you don't need to click drag it to inventory. You can control click it, even with your inventory closed, and it'll snap to your inventory. So, like, don't click drag. Control click.
You found it? Anything take your fancy?
Also,
Plus min-
there is essentially no universe in which you are ever using this item, this item, this item, this item, or this item. So, like, sell all of those first. Like, your inventory management ordering by default going sell first, buy second, especially for stuff that you've decided that you're going to sell. Like, you've preemptively decided that you're going to sell it, is a big deal, because then you would have extra inventory space in crowded inventory situations like this one, where if you wanted to buy, like, multiple items, your inventory would be empty and you wouldn't need to do back and forth. So you should default to sell first, buy second.
levels on. There we go.
A fine
go
choice.
then.
If you find a pint out there, do bring it back.
So we can throw that away. This has got attack speed on it. It does. Goaded.
Quick question, why isn't a quarter of the screen behind an overlay? Do you want more overlay on the screen? I already feel like my overlay is bad on the screen. I keep on trying to move my face to different places.
Another for my collection. Thank you.
Are you asking why we don't have this? Instead of
No plus cold
this?
spells. We'll take that. No necklace either.
Bye.
And there was no plus levels for minions there. So then we go to ramparts.
Is my understanding that that was Blanksuu's preference? True.
I feel like this is the only way.
He's making fun of you for having your OBS settings, like, crangled the other day, that's all.
So, it's ultimate. I don't know what the fuck I'll use this for. I guess that's a space. Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing fine in Mana Ramparts. We're doing fine.
I guess I can go for this move up here. Yeah. Can't remember what
Okay, and then we're once again, I know that I've said that we're not going to talk about, like, layout stuff all that much, but like this particular layout, I need to pick a color that's more visible on this background. This particular layout, is always a hairpin at the level that you care about anyways. So like you can just know that heuristically hugging this wall is correct, and instead like you do this, which like is bad unless you really specifically need the support gem. You always go for the support. I would still go for the support like this instead of going for the support like this, if that makes sense. Like I would still rather you find the exit first and then go for support, because you can checkpoint hop back, and there are many variants in which you are forced through the checkpoint, like in which you're forced through the support gem. Whereas like you can just end up in like fruitless dead ends this way that don't exist if you go this way. Okay, and then we're just going to keep going. We get level 12, which is good. We do get a ton of magic attack XP, which this way, which is good. So, I mean, my point is like very subtle and geometric, but like the basic idea is this. If we look at this, right, and you have to ask yourself, how do I say this? If you can only walk one of these, I think I might actually be wrong. I think we're learning in real time that I'm wrong, which is cool. I like learning things. If you have to only walk this blue route, or only walk this, we'll make it yellow, this yellow route, yeah, I'm wrong. Your pathing is better than mine. You're correct. Because the yellow route is shorter than the blue route. So no, you're correct. If you want the support gem and you're confident of the read, you should do what you're doing. You should ignore me.
That we can put on, well, we'll save it in case we see the league mechanic. If we see the league mechanic, put that on. We could put that on.
Okay.
Shouldn't it be this one? Okay.
Found the league mechanic. We're also 12.5, so this league mechanic is going to get us to like 12 3/4 at least. Maybe more. Which is cool.
Acid stream. I'm gonna take a roundabout path here because for that.
Okay, and then we get very close to level 13. We are 1285-ish, which is good.
Okay, so we're just gonna go straight.
The wolf's reckoning draws.
And then we are just going straight, which is cool. And we're about to get 13 for sure. You see a yellow strongbox? And we don't take it? You don't even ID the strongbox? That's crazy to me. So that strongbox can run any of several mods that are really good for you, because you're playing Essence Drain Contagion. So like for any build, contains additional unique item this early in the run is a huge deal. Because you're limited in the number of unique items that you could drop, and there are a number of them that make a huge difference. Like, this is silly, but you could drop a life sprig, in which case you just win forever and always. Because, like, it's possible for you to get a +4 life sprig. Extremely unlikely, because it's a low-weight item, but it is possible. You can also get... like a variety of defensive items that are super valuable. You can get Luminous Pace. You can get a ton of stuff. Then the other thing is it can drop with additional monster packs. It can drop with additional quality or rarity. It can drop with additional magic packs. And pack density on strong boxes for Essence Drain Contagion is an enormous amount of experience that comes extremely quickly. So since you're an Essence Drain Contagion player at this point in the run, this is like you not even IDing it to see if it has one modifier is like crazy to me unless you're super far ahead on XP. And being 13 flat on first floor manor is not like I'm so over indexed on XP. You're like pretty much on pace. You're doing well. Don't get me wrong. But like this takes 1 second to check and has such potential for upside that like it seems optimal to me to check it.
Such a wee man to cast such a shadow.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, no. Ooh, God. Shit out of me.
Nice. He survived. We love a man who survives.
Jeez.
Ignore all except research is my usual go-to. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Not there.
So like, you clearly have enough damage at this point in the run to clear packs like massively and at will. Like, if it said spawns 8 additional packs of monsters and spawns 3 magic packs, like, that's a full level. And that makes the rest of the run so much easier from an XP management perspective. And right now, you're at, like, the height of the power of Essence Drain Contagion. Where, like, as you get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the game, you're going to be, like, less over-indexed on damage than you are right now. And so, right now you're at a power spike, and you should be pursuing upside. Like, I think you need to be much more flexible in your decision-making about this sort of thing.
Are we not just gonna easily hit 14 here? Also, we need to go ahead and put this on.
Right, because, like, you're about to enter third floor manor, and you're 13 and 40%.
We can actually go ahead and try.
Right, and you're getting decent mob density.
Next phase.
So, like, you end up being fine, which is good.
What the hell was that?
You pounced into a monster that was multi-proj, is what it was. Okay.
Nope, wrong way. This way.
Okay.
So, I'm not good enough to do too much
Okay.
without hitting 14. To be honest, I could probably do it. It's just gonna take
Cool. You're doing great on XP.
on that to work.
Doing great.
Back, reset a checkpoint, and go to like the very entrance of. So
I mean, this is kind of silly because it's only 10% of a level, but like, so right now you're here, right? You're 13.9 almost exactly. If you just had taken that strongbox, even if you clicked on the strongbox and didn't like any of the mods, and so you didn't fight the strongbox, all you did was activate it as you ran by, throw Essence Drain Contagion on the first mob, and then run away. Like, you can just execute a hit and run on a strongbox without waiting for the drops. Like, you're not at all obligated to take 100% of the XP from that strongbox in any way. So as a consequence, you can end up in a situation where you, how do I say this? Like, if you activate the strongbox, 4 mobs will spawn, right? So if there were 4 mobs around that corner, you would have turned around and fought it, right? So, like, you should just think of the strongbox as being 4 mobs hiding under the floorboards. Like, if there was a door with 10 enemies behind it, you would click on the door and fight the enemies. So you would end up being like, I'm going to take a very rough guess that you'd end up being like 14.3 or something by here if you had done that, because you would have, whatever the mobs were, it would have been great. But yeah, I think that your overall problem in Act 1 comes down to a couple of key build changes, which we'll summarize at the end of the coaching session for today.
This area, which I walked the wrong direction to get the mob density, is super close to mobs.
Okay.
Should take like 10 seconds before it's
But this is fine. This is good. I like this map knowledge where you're like, I know that there's density in this one spot, so I'm going to go there. This is good. This is high level player stuff. This is good.
This one, do this and that, and what I have on is giving me strength. Oh,
Okay, so like, by the way, one second. We'll go back to do this.
this one.
This is insane.
Do this and that, and
So you then check your stats. I just want you to know there is no conceivable universe where I see this stat block in Act 1 and care. Everything's above 25? Cool. Cool. Because I'm not going to be equipping a level 5 dex-based skill. So like, for example, a level 5 int-based skill requires 28 int. And I'm not going to be equipping a level 5 pure dex-based skill, so like it literally doesn't matter. And I definitely have enough attributes, if everything's above 25, to allocate all of the support gems that I possibly want. So going like, where am I getting all this strength from? It doesn't matter. Just assign strength. Strength gives HP. You're about to fight a boss. You're about to pick up a bunch of travel nodes throughout the rest of Act 2. You can fix it later. Just get into the boss fight. Quick assign strength and move on. This is not something that matters. This is majoring in the minor to like the most extreme. And the fact that you see this and then go like, where is the strength coming from? And then open your inventory and then check multiple items and then decide, instead of just click strength and move on, is like bad. Also, if your route matters for like stat variance enough that in addition to allocating all of these travel nodes to whatever it is to force specific values, you 100% don't need to be doing that. I get hyper-focused on small things, and since the A3 respec is already super expensive, I try to avoid excessive respec. Yeah, but also, having watched the VOD, you enter Ziggurat Encampment with over 14,000 gold. Like, it's just not a problem. You have more than 10,000 gold when you go to the respec, and respecing stat nodes, just so you know, switching from one stat to another on a stat node costs half as much as any other respec. Like, this doesn't matter. Not only that, but like, if you're going at level 33 with level 9 skills, even for hybrid skills, you, by hybrid skills, I mean like strength int hybrid, strength dex hybrid, int dex hybrid. The level 9 equip requirement is in the 40s. So like, you're already in the high 30s in Act 1, and you're going to take like at least 8 or 9 more travel nodes. This is just not a problem at this point in the run that you need to think about at all. You quick assign it strength, and then you quick assign the next one dex, and then both of those are at 43, and then every single time that you switch gear for the rest of the run, you're then able to like quick check, oh, are they both still 45-ish? Cool. And then keep moving. Right? Because if you end up with an amulet or an essence of the infinite or anything that you can like assign to fix your stat problems later, you can just fix this problem later. You do not need to worry about this right now, even with a very expensive respec.
what I have on is giving me strength. Oh boy. We have a lot that's giving us strength. Alright, so then, oh, wrong one. This one. Okay. So then we can cut storm with it with give it rapid casting. Take this off my bar because it's useless now. Take that off my bar, and then we throw. Where's the other level 5 I picked up? Here it is. Thunderstorm. What the fuck am I doing? That should be fine.
Should be on the elevator doing this? Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
The
so
reason
this
being,
is
like,
lost.
this is a silly point to make, but, like, let's suppose that you got on the elevator and then you weren't done with all your stat assignments and whatever. You can always just open your passive tree and then assign the skill points then. Or, like, the gems or the support gems or whatever, right? So, like, you're just standing still now when you could be doing it during the, like, I'll take your head myself, jump on top of you cutscene stuff where you have 15 seconds of dialogue.
Yeah.
And if you do end up needing time, you can take that time later.
Husband, this interloper has the power we need. Kill
We could
him,
potentially
and you
just
shall
get
have
shocks from
everything I
this,
promise.
No
which
news
is
this
pretty
time.
dope.
Okay.
I'll remove your head
Drop
myself.
this.
Failed once,
Give me that kind
you'll fail again.
Okay.
freezing faster than he's getting shocked. Why is he not taking damage? I guess I don't really have that good of a cast in this one. And plus I'm not keeping my mana up.
Did you switch to your
That doesn't help me.
physical spell skill wand?
Release the beast.
No, you didn't. So, you into all this trouble. If we go back. This wand that you have in your inventory is a +1 all physical spell skills. Your primary damaging skill is a physical spell. You should equip this. It was worse. You have a Regal and an Exalt, and it has the best modifier in the game. Like, I don't see a world where you're not spending that Regal and Exalt on this unless you're like really hoping only for upside. Like, even if it doesn't have a Regal and Exalt, you have this as well. Like, you have like a bunch of currency, and this thing has the best modifier it can possibly have for this fight. And like the best modifier it can possibly have until you do your respec post Jamunra. And by that point, you would have recovered a guaranteed Regal in Mastodon Badlands if you want to force it, Exalts from 5 or 6 different league mechanics, Artificer's Orbs in multiple different places, like runes in multiple different places. Like, this currency can be recovered. But like in terms of getting you out of Act 1 and through the first half of Act 2, like I don't play caster, but when I see this weapon and then I go, oh shit, you can just dump currency on this thing, I would 100% do that. Maybe a high level caster player would have
This makes one.
a different intuition than me, but like this feels super important.
Just so that I could get like procs off of. Oh,
You manipulative whore. How dare you abandon
Also, just to reiterate, like, we have a transmute, an augment, a regal, an exalt, an alch, support gem, skill gem. Like, all of this is like in different places when it could be like in a line or in a line or in a square. Like, whatever is standard for you. So I'm glad that you're spending some time organizing now.
fix our.
Like, this is good. I'm glad that you're fixing it now. Okay. And then we're gonna skip poetry. Okay.
No way.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, 1 second. This is not surprising to me that you get frozen here. So, the actual size of your character hitbox isn't determined by the positions of your feet. It's actually a circle that is as wide as your... I'm going to draw this super poorly. It's a circle that is as wide as your full character model. So the fact that you like overlap a tiny bit on each side, even though it doesn't look like your feet are in this, is totally normal. And so you should be standing like here or here are the obvious safe spots. Not that it matters, because like you survive.
No way.
And also like, again, there are so many nitty gritty details to care about.
No way. Oh god. He's protecting me. No. No.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there, Chief. Just you keep dodge rolling into ice spires. But you survive, so it doesn't really matter. Cool. So we get a 4650, roughly. 4650. If we subtract the riverbank time. You clearly already have the like combat prowess. How do I say this? You clearly already have the knowledge of game systems and the combat prowess to get a 35. Like you already know enough about how your skills interact, how your support gems work, what you want on tree, why you want it, when you want it. But the main thing is that you are not playing with urgency. And that's a problem. Like, we're spending a lot of time being hyper-focused on details, caring about stat requirements that don't matter until, like, way later in the run. Caring about, like, comparisons of gear in the shop that doesn't matter. There are many times where, like, I'll give you an example. If you are going to spend time going back to town or shopping at a vendor, and you're going to spend 30 seconds doing that, which we do maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the run up to this point, right? Is there any conceivable piece of gear that can save back 3 times 40 seconds, 2 full minutes on its own, compared to just running through the zone? Probably not, right? So like reducing trips to town and spending less time in town and being much more cavalier about some details is super important. Like, I'm a big fan of American college football, and my team is the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. And their coach, Kirby Smart, is one of the best coaches in college football right now. And one of the things that he always talks about is keeping the main thing. The main thing. And the main thing in Act 1 is getting to Geonor. If you have bad gear, if you're a quarter level off of where you want, if you don't have a Regal Orb when you thought that you would, like, doesn't matter. I got to Geonor first. Like, the main thing is get through the zones. The main thing is, like, move. Like, move. Stop doing all this other stuff. So, like, yeah, does this stuff matter? Does optimizing items matter? Does optimizing support gems matter? Yeah, of course. And, like, in particular, in the first third of Act 1, until you enter Cemetery, in that, like, first 10 minutes or so of the run, yeah, we need to, like, fix your skill gem cutting order, and we need to be cutting Frostbomb for certain and for sure. We need to be allocating more stuff to boss killing and a little bit less to mob clear, because we've got the literal best mob clear skill in the game equipped. We do not need to double down into more of that when we're clearly struggling on boss fights. But, like, the main thing is just fucking move. Like, you need to play as though your head is going to explode if you spend more than 2 minutes in each zone. So, like, you're doing really well. You clearly have the knowledge to get further into the game faster than you are. But, like, removing a lot of this fastidiousness, like, we're not playing hardcore SSF and trying to get, like, optimal stuff. Right? If you had had 20% less damage against Geonor, wouldn't have been a problem. You're a good player. You can just juke him. Right? So, like, what happens if we don't have as good of a wand because we didn't go back to town to get a better wand? That's okay. It straight up does not matter. Compared to, like, going to like if you are going to lose 20 seconds in combat by keeping a janky item that you currently have versus gaining like versus losing 40 seconds of going to town to save those 20 seconds, why would you spend 40 to save 20? Just lose the 20. You know what I mean? Like there's no anything. And there are times in Act 1 where you're forced to go back to town. Like when you kill Geonor, you're going to talk to Renly and Una anyways. So if your damage is good enough to kill Geonor with, you should almost never be going back to town unless the quest forces you to. Like in my ideal world, after entering Grim Tangle, you don't go back to town until you kill Geonor. Because like the last time that you're actually forced to go back to town is just before you enter Grim Tangle. And that's it. So like if that's not happening, it's because something has gone like hideously wrong. So that's Act 1. The main notes are like keep the main thing, and the main thing is moving through all the zones. Like just fucking move. From like skill build perspective, there are two things that we want to take away. One is you do like pretty typical druid pathing. Like this is something that we've seen a lot of people do. But then you do this before doing this. And just from a like damage numbers tree, this one is the better one to do first. Does caster even need a weapon in Act 1? No, you can find a wand on the ground that has any one random modifier and be totally fine. So, you know, like this is just more number than this is. So just if you're gonna do this tree, definitely go here first before going here. Then the other thing is that I would encourage you to talk to other caster players, but in my mind, if you've got level 1 Contagion and you've got like this is enough mob clear if you have spell damage on tree, which you for sure have spell damage on tree. Level 1 Contagion is totally fine to get all the way to cemetery entrance when you hit level 6. You're fine. Especially if you have a wand that has spell damage, gain is extra, +1 levels. Like anything that helps that, you're definitely super fine. But your level 2 skill, where you get that skill gem from the league mechanic, I don't know because I haven't talked to a bunch of caster players, but like your single target is clearly struggling, and like upgrading your volcano with this level 2, super duper important. The other thing is that you went for entangle with your other level 1, and that's like don't do that. Just get contagion. Not contagion. Just get contagion and frostbomb. Because like frostbomb, this amount of exposure, especially paired with volcano, is going to save you. Like we did the math, it's going to save you like 22 seconds against Rust King alone, right? Because the exposure gets you 25%, and the additional level on volcano gets you another 25%. Like that, those two numbers when they multiply, you're going to be saving 20 seconds on Draven, 20 seconds on Assinia, 20 seconds on Rust King, 20 seconds on Lachlan. Like that's a minute and a half of combat time save by just level 2 volcano instead of the other thing. Like you have the mob clear. You've got the literal best mob clear skill in the game, and you've got the tree to support it. Where you could with Contagion, there are all kinds of Contagion support gems where you're like, oh, I want to balance my mob clear in this. Sure, make your level 1 support gem that you get from Ariagne be something that juices Contagion's damage. Right? But that level 2 support gem, I just think that, like, having watched your run and timed the segments, and having watched like Giluo's Witch run from 0.3 and having watched like Guy That Dies over the last couple days and having watched Angormus over the last couple days, the difference between your like first tiny bit until you hit level 6 and theirs is that you're not prioritizing single target nearly enough. And you have so few tools to prioritize single target that like that level 2 skill gem is just too valuable to spend anywhere else. So that's main thing. That's skill gem and tree. Let's talk about like movement patterns and XP taking. You are like definitely being inefficient in how you think about mobs. Meaning you're spending a lot of time on white mob XP in places where it doesn't matter a whole lot. And I don't mean kill fewer things. I mean that you're caring too much about there's 6 enemies over here, and if I just throw an inefficient Essence Drain Contagion, I'll kill 4 of them. But I really want all 6. And so you double back and spend twice as much time killing 6 enemies as you would spending killing 4. And then there are other tools like strong boxes and magic packs that you're being under indexed on. Where like really high strongbox density, like in the Manor, for example, you could have missed 20 white monsters through all of the previous zones and have been half a level lower than you were. But if you had taken that strongbox, that would have made up the entire deficit that was caused by being sloppy earlier. And the net effect of that is saving like a full minute. So I think that you're you need to be okay being less detail oriented about white mobs and to be much more focused on magics and rares, as well as on mechanics that create density for you, like strong boxes and league mechanics and, you know, later in the run abysses, or like the ritual and hunting grounds. There are places where Essence Drain Contagion really thrives at taking enormous density. And there were 2 different rare blacksmith strongboxes for you that are unlikely to give you really good gear, but you didn't even bother spending an ID scroll on either one of them. And if one of those had, you know, guarded by 4 packs of monsters implicit, guarded by 8 packs of monsters suffix modifier, that's a whole level in 30 seconds. And that saves you so much time on all of the rest of this white pack XP that you are spending 4 extra seconds per pack 20 times to take. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I would need to think about this, but like, by the way, and my point about strongboxes is like, you don't need to 100% the strongbox. You can hit and run the strongbox. Like, you can just activate it as you run by. A good example of this is the one in Tomb of the Consort. You literally stepped next to it. If you had just clicked on it and then just like turned around and thrown 2 Essence Drains and 2 Contagions and like 1 Volcano and then just left, you probably get the equivalent of 6 or 8 packs of experience of Contagion there because of where it was spawned and so forth. And so that's like a lot of XP loss. Because you just, I don't know. You're I think that only researchers is a bit of a weird strategy. I think you need to be much more flexible in your decision making about that. So that's the main thing. And remember, that's like 90% of the whole lesson is just keep the main thing the main thing. Skill gems we talked about. XP and mob management we talked about. I'll be honest, I think that your Act 3 respec is a bad idea. Like, having watched it yesterday offline and made notes, if you really love this build and you want to run this build because you want to run it, great. But from the point of view of like winning races, like if what you care about is having fun and being fast and you're balancing those 2 things as a priority, that is so cool. In the 0.2 race cycle, when I was a beginning and then eventually intermediate racer, I deliberately chose to not learn the full rake route until later because I wanted to develop more understanding of boss mechanics in Act 3. So I chose to do the Perfect Strike respec, even though I knew that I was going to lose time to doing the respec itself, and I was going to lose time to leveling up higher, and I was going to do all the other things, because I was making a point of playing a build that would force me to learn the boss mechanics. So, like, from personal experience, if that's your goal, do that. However, if your goal is to be as fast as possible, I don't think that this minion swap stuff, like, certainly not for someone who's struggling with the menuing aspect of the run and who's not struggling with the combat. Like, I'm watching you, you know the boss mechanics, you're comfortable dodging all of the fancy Geonor stuff. The Executioner is really easy. That said, you did get slammed by Executioner twice, you did run into 3 cold beams. So, like, there is stuff to work there as well. But if I compare the skill deficit from you to, like, top 5 players in the world, the skill gap on menuing and efficient shopping and stuff like that is, like, a way bigger time loss than, like, if you had straight up died to Executioner. Like, it's not a problem. Your combat is not the main problem right now. The main problem in getting you from where you are to, like, the next level is that you're just spending, like, 10 minutes this act shopping or, like, comparing items when, like, the difference is really small. And you need to be, like, much more aggressive about not doing that. And this is going to be, when we go through the other acts, we'll talk about this as well. Yeah. No, that's totally fine. The respec build is the only one that you've been able to kill Tavaka with, then that's cool. That's totally fine. That's fine for now. We can talk about combat and positioning stuff later. So, like, once we go through all the acts, we can talk about, like, you consistently move really early or late on dodge rolls, and so, like, just doing deliberate boss fight practice will be a thing for you later on. But right now, I want you to, like, just do a whole run without, like, do a whole run of Act 1 without ever going to town, no matter what happens. And, like, running some Act 1 any percent where you just don't save your currency at all. Like, just spend everything crafting on the fly and just go. And just don't go back to town ever. You get a regal? Cool. I have a wand that's good. I'm regaling it right now. Just do some Act 1 any percent just to feel what playing with, like, really aggressive urgency is like. And you'll see what I mean. Like, it'll feel insane to you at first where you're like, oh, I got an alch. I should save that for my Act 3 weapon. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Just run. And, like, this isn't just an Act 1 thing, by the way. Because, like, when I say keep the main thing, the main example of this that I can think of in the entire run, having watched most of it last night, I didn't get all the way through Act 4, but I definitely, like, I saw all of Act 1 before. I saw all of Act 3. I skimmed over most of Act 2 because you were in a pretty good spot for your time. But you may remember in this particular run, around the time that you kill Silverfist, like, I'll see if we can go find the moment I'm talking about really quickly. So around the time that we kill Silverfist, you have these 2 scepters. Yeah, it's like here-ish. Okay. We'll see if I can...
Okay, we're done fucking with
Okay.
that, and we're screwed the pooch. We got height.
So... Yeah. Is this it?
On damage by from here. Okay. So almost jump. I mean, it's all spat.
Yeah. Okay, I can't find the exact moment, but you have one scepter that has, like, minions have plus 30% life, and you have another one that has +1 minion skills, and one of them is yellow and one of them is blue and blah blah blah, and you go through the whole comparison, and one of them has 6,370 minion life, and the other one has 6,410. Right? So, like, I just want to make the point, that's a less than 1% total difference in minion HP. And you spend, like, 2.5 minutes comparing. When, like, in reality, your damage was already above the good enough threshold. And, like, you could have... Like, if you watch... a good example of this is from having talked to... when... So I was kind of late to the mercenary party in 0.3 compared to Driz and Whole New Society in particular, right? And there was a run where every single top mercenary player was in my Twitch chat all at once because I'm a special boy and everybody showed up to my birthday party. And at one point, I was in Sandswept Marsh and I had a single crossbow that had 70 lightning damage on it and no other modifiers. Like, it was a literal 1-mod bombard crossbow. And I think it was Driz was just like, yeah, so that's your crossbow. And I was like, what? I haven't even augmented it yet. And he's like, it's good enough. You can stop thinking about crossbows forever. You could kill Tavakai with that. And I, of course, I had an augment and a regal and, you know, all the other things. And so we did go craft it. But, like, the point is, once you're above some threshold of good enough, spending 20 seconds trying to be better than good enough is actually losing time, because it's not gonna kill the boss enough faster to make that time back up. There's just not enough time left in the run to make up 1.5 minutes of all of that other stuff. You know what I mean? Good to see you, Devo. Everyone, why would people bring wine to my birthday party for my parents? Bring wine to my birthday party for me, Devo. For me, it's my birthday. You see my alcoholic liquor cabinet and you don't think that I need wine on my birthday? Frankly, how dare you? The cap is on the bottle. I'm too busy being snarky to chat. So, like, well, even if your parents didn't drink it, it would have been rude not to. I'm not your boyfriend, so it doesn't matter. Meeting the parents at my birthday party is not as important as meeting the parents. I think you're mixing up the etiquette, Devo. It's weird. The first recording I died to Tavakai about 4 more times because the damage was lower than anticipated, so I was hyper vigilant. Yeah. I don't think that that's... I think that you're missing out on other stuff. Because, like, your damage is more than good enough to kill Tavakai with. So, like, long story short, I think that you need to keep the main thing, and we can circle back on all these details later. But giving you the full notes, there's skill gem stuff to work on. You need to make a new regex for sure. If you need help writing a regex, you know, DM me and we can go through the full details. You 100% need a stricter loot filter because you're seeing, like, items that there's no conceivable circumstance where you could possibly even care about them a little bit. Like, there's just no way you ever care about white two-handed maces. There's no way you ever care about, you know, blue bucklers. There's no way you ever care about this and that and the other thing. You know what I mean? So, like, just seeing those items is wasting your time. Your tree needs to be slightly reordered. Your skill gems need to be slightly reordered. And I also think that, like, right now, you need to play, like, much more aggressively with respect to ignoring some white pack XP stuff. Don't skip packs, by the way. I'm just saying, like, you don't need to catch all the stragglers. And then you need to play much more vigilantly with respect to magic packs and strong boxes and stuff. So there's a lot of notes in that. We've reviewed a 40-minute run for 3 hours. So we will do the other ones as we continue. So I hope that that's helpful. We will go over Act 2 whenever you have a day to go over Act 2. I hope that everyone who watched had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. That's the end of coaching review for today, if that's okay with you. And we'll come back to Act 2 a different day. And then I can get to play some video game for me.